Roundtable Sports Network brings you NFL divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from your favorite content creators across YouTube, featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings, the AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports, real coverage from real fans.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. I am your host, Connor Long. Everyone smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. And today we are joined by a very special guest. You all know him. He's a Roundtable Sports legend, host of Patriots Global, and he's on the AFC East Roundtable, the man, the myth, the legend, Colby Cochran. Colby, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I mean, beautiful intro. I got to get Connor to come on to my channel, record a little bit something for me. Maybe I'll use that clip it, just play before my videos. That was absolutely amazing. But yeah, man, I'm great. Always love coming here, talking Patriots football, love talking football in general. So when you hit me up to come do this for Roundtable, it was an immediate yes, man. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, Colby, I am very happy you are able to be here, but let's get right into it. Before we preview Sunday's slate of Week 11 games, let's recap Thursday night's game. I mean, it was a loss for the Washington Commanders, who've had a very great start to the season, 7-4. They fell to the Eagles by a score of 26-18. Jaden Daniels, he looked, he was a little banged up. He's had a great start to his rookie campaign. Do you think Daniels is playing hurt right now?
100%. He came out there, I believe it was like broken ribs or something like that. Yep. And I thought he was going to be placed on the injured reserve. He was at least going to miss a period of time, but that guy has the dog mentality in him. He always did. He was actually my favorite prospect when I started doing my due diligence from last year's draft, not even from a quarterback standpoint, but just from a player standpoint. I didn't think that any player improved on a year-to-year basis the way that he did. And when he entered the transfer portal and he went over to LSU, he had that dog mentality to prove everybody wrong, because, when he was switching and his teammates from his first college found out, they didn't like it. They were on his back. They were trolling him. They were videotaping him when he was cleaning out his locker. And I think ever since then, he wanted to prove everybody wrong. And he's doing that as he's entering the NFL. So definitely a little bit surprised that he's playing hurt. But again, when the team's doing as well as they are because of him, he wants to make the postseason. He has a lot to prove. He might just be a rookie, but he's not taking that on with the rookie mentality. He's taking it on with, you know what? My team's playing well. I'm playing well. And if we can get into the postseason and I can hit the ground running as a first-year quarterback, I'm going to do so. Because if they don't have Jaden Daniels, that is their MVP. If they lose him, then they're not nearly as good of a team.
Move over to the Eagles side of things here, Colby. You look and, the running game was really the story of this game. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 146 yards for 2 touchdowns. He's, had a great start to his first season over in Philadelphia. These are two teams that are going to be competing for the NFC East title this season. Who do you see, possibly making a deep run in the playoffs out of these two teams? But rather more, who do you see winning the NFC East out of these two teams?
Yeah, it's really hard when it comes down to who's going to win it at the end of the day. I really think it's going to be back and forth between the Eagles and the Commanders. But right now, you got to take the team that's on the top. And I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles because Nick Sirianni, he's playing for his job right now. A lot of the guys in Philadelphia right now are playing for their jobs, as were the Commanders. They're exceeding expectations. Nobody expected them to make the postseason. Nobody expected them to win the division. So even if they don't win the division, but they still go ahead and they make the playoffs and they're doing as well as they are, nobody's going to be upset. Versus the Philadelphia Eagles, if they don't win the division, if they do not make a push and go to the NFC Championship game, Nick Sirianni could be on the line. So for me, I think both of these teams do make the postseason. I think it's going to be close, but the Philadelphia Eagles, they're playing really, really good football right now. They're playing hot football, and I just don't see the Commanders coming in and being able to take over the reins there.
Now, Colby, let's move over to Sunday's slate of games preview. all of what Sunday has in store. We'll start off with the 2-7 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to Miami to face off against the 3-6 Dolphins. Dolphins coming off a huge 23-15 win over the Rams on Monday Night Football. Raiders yet again coming off a 41-24 loss to the Bengals. Dolphins currently are 7-point home favorites. How do you see this game playing up? Tua Tagovailoa, he threw a touchdown interception, 207 yards last week. What do you think this matchup looks like, and how do you see Tua performing?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to play in Miami. I remember Tom Brady, those days where even when Brady was here and the Dolphins, they still weren't a good team. Brady would drop a couple of games, and more specifically, he would drop them in Miami because that is just a hard place to play. Miami, before the trade deadline, we heard that they were still all in on the season, despite their record, despite underachieving, despite what's been going on with Tua and his injury history this season. This is a team that still believes in their success and their ability to still make the postseason, and they're riding on that hope. They got a couple of wins here that they're stringing together, and I think since getting Tua back, we're seeing this team change a little bit. That defense is coming together a little bit better, kind of having a little bit more consistency. It's really what's been killing the Dolphins if you look at it over the last few weeks. It's been the offense. That has been surprisingly their Achilles heel. But now that you get Tua back, that offense is kind of coming back together a little bit. The chemistry, the continuity, that's all coming back. You see Tyreek Hill's finally getting a little bit more acclimated. He's becoming more productive. So I think they're getting better as each week goes on. And like I alluded to, the Dolphins are a team that are trying to still win right now. The Raiders, they're not really trying to do so. I mean, that front office, the fan, they don't want to win games right now. And I don't believe in purposefully tanking, but I think that they want Shador. And from all of kind of the front office people that I'm hearing from is that the Raiders aren't trying to necessarily win games right now. So I think if anything, them winning this game hurts them for the Shador Sanders sweepstakes. So for me, this one isn't very tough. These are two underachieving teams, but you got to go with the Dolphins.
Yeah, absolutely. Dolphins at home, they're touchdown favorites. I completely agree. I do go with the Dolphins here, but I don't think this Dolphins team makes a playoff run. I just think they've dug themselves into, such deep of a hole with a 3-6 start. It's so hard to come out of, missing Tua for that slate of games. We even saw Tim Boyle take snaps under center. So that, that whole quarterback carousel while Tua was out really dug the Dolphins into such a deep hole that's going to be tough for them to get out of. But let's keep it going too. Poor teams again. The 2-7 Browns travel to New Orleans to take on the 3-7 Saints. Saints coming off a huge 20-17 victory over the Falcons. They made a coaching change after the Panthers lost, and that paid off. Darren Rizzi, the players spoke. They loved, what he did that week of practice, the game plan that he instilled, and almost, felt like that Rihanna kind of energy in New Orleans. How do you see this game shaping up, Colby?
Yeah, two teams who, again, have not been very good, especially the Browns, who they go ahead last year. They make the postseason. You think they're going to come out and make a run. They don't. Deshaun Watson looks like crap. Deshaun Watson then gets injured. They trade Amari Cooper. This is a team that definitely isn't playing for the postseason. This is a team that is definitely just looking to string a couple of wins together, maybe get some momentum. But Jameis Winston, man. Jameis Winston going to be starting here for the Cleveland Browns, and I think he wants that revenge. I think he wants that revenge against the Saints, so I think that the Browns are going to be a little bit more motivated. I know the Saints are coming off of a win, but for me, it was game one of an interim head coach. It's hard to really game plan against teams when they are game one of an interim head coach. What's the mentality? What's the game plan going to be? What's the play calling going to be like? And I got to trust the team with the better coaching staff, the team who has the better mentality right now. And I just don't think that an interim head coach is going to get back-to-back wins. Those in-division wins too, any given week, man. Those in-division games to me are literally any given week. So yes, it was a big win by the Saints, but at the end of the day, was that the Saints finally turning tides, or was that just a lucky in-division win with game one of an interim head coach? So I'm going to go with Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns in this one.
That's really interesting there, Colby. The Browns are one of the half-point road favorites over the Saints, which is interesting, obviously, because the Saints are coming off that huge win, but clearly the odds makers didn't make much of it. I'm going to have to disagree with you here. I'm going to have to pick the Saints at home. I just think this is a team that, yes, they got off to a rough start, but I heard what the players said after the game about Coach Darren Rizzi, how they reacted to that coaching change. I think that carried in to this week. And also, if the Saints are able to get out in front early, I think they'll be able to beat the Browns no problem. Just because you look at a team like the Browns, something I've noticed over the course of the season is they cannot play from behind. The games that they have won this season, they got ahead early and they held on to that lead. So yeah, like even if you look at that Ravens game where they barely snuck past the Ravens, they got ahead and they held on. That's how they won. So I think if the Saints get ahead early, they should have no problem taking care of business over at their home turf. Let's move over to the Indianapolis Colts, sitting at a record of 4-6, facing off against my New York Jets with a record of 3-7. Jets coming off a drubbing, really 31-6 loss. They fell to the Arizona Cardinals. Jets didn't make any big plays. The tackling was abysmal. 20 missed tackles, tied for the most by any team this season. As for the Colts, they're coming off a 30-20 loss to the Buffalo Bills at home. But Shane Steichen made another quarterback change 2 weeks ago. Made the change to start Joe Flacco after Anthony Richardson pretty much just blatantly quit on the team because he was, quote, tired. But now Richardson coming back in to play quarterback in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Colby, the Jets sit at 4.5-point home favorites somehow, some way. Who are you picking?
Man, I think it's really hard to lose to the Colts. I really think in a lot of ways they're beating themselves. And I'm somebody, Connor, who believes that football is just as much mental. It's about the mentality side of things, just as much as it is the physical side of things. I think everybody thinks about talent, but they don't always think about what can momentum bring. And right now, when you're making all of these quarterback changes, it's changing that momentum. It's taking out the belief in both of your quarterbacks. And I think that they're ruining Anthony Richardson. Realistically, Anthony Richardson probably should have sat for his first year. This was a guy with a lot of intangibles. He just needed to put it all together. And if you rock the confidence of a quarterback, you screw over a quarterback. And once you throw in your franchise quarterback, you throw in your first round quarterback, you can't take him out. And right now, the Colts are doing this thing where 1 week he's in, 1 week he's out, 1 week he's in, 1 week he's out. He's never going to develop, and that confidence is shot. I'm 100% taking the Jets here. I said this the last week on the AFC East roundtable, and Richie was like, look, Colby, I can never confidently pick the Jets, but if I'm a Jets fan, I'm confidently picking them, because if the Jets can't come in here and beat Anthony Richardson, who seems to beat himself every single week, then who are the Jets going to beat? The Jets, to me, have one of the best, if not the best, on-paper roster in the NFL. For them, it's just come to putting those pieces together, building continuity, building chemistry, and getting rid of the toxicity in the locker room and off the field. I think that this is a game in which they can get right. I think they need a confidence booster after that game against the Cardinals. There's no such thing as a given win here for this New York Jets team, which we have seen, but I think that this is a win that they should get.
Well, Colby, I am 2-6 when picking the Jets, and I'm 1-1 when not picking the Jets. But somehow, I understand the rule where the home team normally gets 3 points, but still, if the Jets were away, the line would probably be at about, they'd still be 1.5-point favorites. Which I understand the Colts have not gotten off to the best start, which you pretty much nailed there. But still, I mean, the fact that this team is favored week in and week out, and they just continue to lose is mind-boggling to me. I am going to have to go ahead and pick the Jets here, basically for the reasons you mentioned there above. The only thing I do worry about is containing Anthony Richardson, containing Jonathan Taylor, because as we know, the Jets have struggled to not only contain mobile quarterbacks, but they clearly can't stop the run. They have a severe tackling issue. So I think if the Jets are able to do that, they should come out of MetLife Stadium with an easy win. But if Richardson and Taylor just run all over them, it has a chance to really come down to the wire, which scares me as a Jets fan. The playoff chances still aren't at triple zeros yet, but they're not looking great. So you got to get every win, and it's not even for the playoff chances. I think it just has to do with, the chemistry in the locker room, really, because if this team loses on Sunday, they have the potential to just spiral out of control. I think this team needs a win, like I said, not only for the, the playoff odds or whatever it is, but to just, kind of get back in the win column they won on Halloween, but before that it was a 5-game losing streak. So this team needs to get back in the win column for bigger reasons than, just trying to reach the postseason. But let's keep it going here. 7-2 Minnesota Vikings travel to Tennessee to take on the 2-7 Tennessee Titans. Vikings coming off a 12-7 win over the Jags, while the Titans come off a 27-17 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. Colby, what are your thoughts on this matchup here? you look at a team like the Vikings coming off a 12-7 win. Sam Darnold, incredible start to the season. Now he's really, starting to revert back to his true colors. How do you see this shaping up?
Yeah, I actually think this is a really fun and interesting game just because if you look at it, it's two offenses that at this point in the season are definitely struggling a little bit. That's kind of the Achilles heel to both of these teams, but two very, very good defenses. Like these are two top 5 defenses in the NFL between the Vikings and what Brian Flores has been able to do. And then obviously what the Tennessee Titans have been able to do. I just think that right now you look at it and you say, well, okay, the Minnesota Vikings, they're a playoff team. The Tennessee Titans, they're pretty much guaranteed a top 5 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. So at the end of the day, I think both defenses are going to be very, very good. I trust Minnesota's defense just a little bit more. I trust that aggressiveness a little bit more, especially up front. They're one of the best scoring defenses in the NFL. They're one of the best defenses when it comes to takeaways also, surprisingly, with like no secondary. And I also trust Jay Jettas a lot more than I trust anybody on that offense for Tennessee. So this one for me is pretty easy. I could see it being closer than people expect, but I'm going to take the Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings are 6-point road favorites here in this one. The Titans are a 2-17, but a couple bounces go their way, and this team is possibly sitting at a record of 4-5 just based on what has happened during a few of their losses. But I completely agree. Despite it not being a pretty game in Jacksonville for the Vikings, I do think they end up coming out on top here, taking care of business on the road. Let's keep it moving though. 6-3 Packers versus the 4-5 Bears. An interdivision clash here. The Bears suffered a 19-3 loss to your Patriots. Great game for out of your Pats. Thoughts on this game? Bears are at home, but the Packers are still 5.5-point favorites. You look at a Packers team that's 6-3. Yeah, 6-3 start is great, but I think a lot of people expected maybe a 7-2 and 8-1 start for this Packers team that a lot of people felt very, very confident in entering the season. What do you see the outcome like at Soldier Field?
I think that this game had a lot of potential to be really interesting and really good, but I think the reason it's not is because of the Bears, and they're not living up to expectations. I'll be curious to see what that final injury report does look like for the Bears and who ultimately is going to play for them, because like you said, my Patriots played them last week. They got 9 sacks, Connor. They got 9 sacks against the Bears. And so the question is going to be, do they put some more pieces on that offensive line, or is it still going to be paper mache? Because that Packers front, it can still get to the quarterback, but there's a lot of toxicity, a lot of rumors going around behind the scenes with that Bears team. I mean, obviously firing their offensive coordinator, taking a step back. Some people wanted Caleb Williams to be benched too. So there was a lot of rumors, a lot of toxicity going on and off the field. Caleb Williams looks absolutely terrible, can barely complete a pass, terrible accuracy. You see DJ Moore checking out on pretty much every single play. And I really like what the Packers are doing. Have they 100% lived up to expectations? No, but I also think they're still a very young team, still a team that is rebuilding. I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to be as good as they were last year, but in the second half of 2023, they pick up the momentum a little bit. They start carrying and stringing some games together, and they're able to make the postseason and even win a postseason game. Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, 2 big offseason additions who are performing really, really well for this team. I don't really think it's even a question. I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you there, Colby. I am going to take the Packers. You mentioned the 9 sacks from your Patriots pass rush there. I think a few of those sacks have to be credited to just poor decision making from Caleb Williams. I think a lot of not only Bears fans but NFL fans, drew the conclusion 5 weeks into the season that Caleb Williams was their franchise guy. He's going to be here for so long, but you could point to a few games, not only the Pats game where Caleb Williams has an opportunity to throw it away or a clear dump off in the backfield, and he just tries to be that guy and make this crazy play, and it clearly hasn't panned out for him over the past few weeks. So I think it's shifting that mindset for Caleb Williams. But I do see the Packers traveling into Soldier Field and collecting a win. Let's keep it going, though. 2-8 Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Detroit to take on the 8-1 Detroit Lions. Colby, I think we all know where this is at, and this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jacksonville Jags in this game for the upset. No, you kidding me? Look, the Detroit Lions are playing, I would say, the second best football in the NFL. They have one loss on the season. That one loss is coming in week 1. So this team is really, really good. I think that they are going to be the team that represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think that this is the year they do it, and I think that they're a really dangerous team. They have a really, really good mindset there with Dan Campbell as their head coach. And like I said, I do think football is just as much mental and the motivational side, just as much as it is the physical side. This Jags team not living up to expectations. I think it's going to be a firehouse sale. They obviously made some trades there at the trade deadline. So this one's not close. Like you said, it's going to be a blowout. I think Mac Jones might be starting this game too. So it's not even a question. He's going to throw like 2 picks and this thing's a blowout. Detroit Lions by 1 billion.
Yes, the Detroit Lions are 13.5-point home favorites. So I think we all know their side of that. I think the Lions come out on top probably by 3 possessions. I think it looks something like that, just a complete, demolition of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's keep it moving though. The Los Angeles Rams, record 4-5, travel to New England to take on your Patriots. Rams. They're coming off that loss on Monday Night Football to the Dolphins. Pat's coming off a huge win over the Bears. The Rams are currently 4.5-point road favorites. Colby, you obviously have a lot of insight on the Patriots. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a difficult game to predict. The Rams have not lived up to expectations. They've had a lot of injuries. They have an aging Cooper Kupp there. I actually really like how the Patriots kind of man up against this team. Yep. The biggest thing that scares me is that Rams defensive line. I think Drake May and this Patriots offense will have a lot of opportunities to create off structure. Drake May is one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now in creating off a structure because of how bad and dwindled down that Rams secondary is. It's just that pass rush, Jared Verse. Those are the guys that you have to stop because if you allow them to control the game, you are going to lose. On the Patriots side of things, they have really liked to play a lot of man coverage over the last few weeks. The Rams are one of the worst teams in the NFL offensively when they are going up against man coverage. So again, I really like how the Patriots fare up against in this game. This is also going to be game 1 of Yannick Ngakoue for the Patriots, who they claimed off of waivers from the Ravens. Christian Barmore officially came back to practice, their star defensive tackle, who they signed to a he's making about, I believe, annually $25 million on average that they gave him this offseason. So that's 2 big players to that defensive line, 2 big pieces to the pass rush that are coming back here. So Patriots are coming off of a big win. They're carrying some momentum. They've won their last 2 out of 3 games. And really that third game too against the Titans, they should have won, came down into overtime. If Drake May just puts a little bit more oomph, against the win there, the Patriots come out with a win in overtime. So I am going to take the upset, maybe a little bit biased. It really could go either way. I don't feel confident about this either way, but I'm going to say with the reinforcements that the Patriots have, the mentality that they're bought into, and kind of just the aura that they've been bringing in the last few weeks since they beat your Jets, I'm going to say they get the win here.
Yeah, Colby, it's a very interesting matchup. As the Rams are 4.5-point road favorites. I think you pretty much nailed it there when you mentioned their pass rush. Drake Mays, he's great when he has time to survey the field. Obviously, he's a younger guy, so of course he's going to succeed when he's poised. He has time to make his reads. We saw that in the Titans game where he basically had 30 seconds to throw the ball on that final play before it went into overtime. So I think if this Patriots offensive line is able to hold up and stop that Rams pass rush, I think they should be able to come out with a win. But right now, I think I'm going to have to take the Rams just because this is a team that, it's been a few games now. Now they'll fully have, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua acclimated from those injuries. And I just think this offense, when they click, they're one of the best offenses in all of football, whether it's through the ground game or, connecting with Matthew Stafford, connecting with Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. So I do think if the Patriots want to come out on top, their secondaries going to need to, have a really, really solid game. But right now, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and take the Rams here. Let's keep it moving, though. 7-3 Baltimore Ravens travel to Pittsburgh to take on the 7-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. Little AFC North action over at Acrisure Stadium. Ravens coming off a huge 35-34 win over the Bengals. And while the Bengals have not gotten off to the best start this season, they've sure given the Ravens a tough time. I mean, both games against the Ravens coming down to the wire, which is really fascinating to see for a team like the Ravens that's 7-3 compared to a Bengals team that's below 500. As for the Steelers, coming off a 28-27 win last week against the Commanders. Right now, the Ravens currently 3-point road favorites. Colby, how do you see this AFC North clash shaping up?
Yeah, man, this is a really, really tough one to predict because we're talking about two playoff teams. And I think that the Steelers, they've performed way, way, way better than expectations. And to me, they are this perfect picture on why a good coaching staff can make a bad or okay roster look better. And a bad coaching staff can make a great roster look bad. I mean, Mike Tomlin, one of the best head coaches of all time. And I think he just
Yes.
continues to cement that in every single year. Russ is definitely cooking. I feel like it's only a matter of time before maybe things catch up to him a little bit. They keep making so many quarterback changes to where I feel like it's only a matter of time before it bites them in the butt a little bit. This one really could go either way to me, and I don't blame anyone who takes the Ravens or who takes the Steelers, but I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens in this one. This is going to be a true test for that Steelers defense, a true test for Mike Tomlin. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson possibly you're locking in as MVP right now.
Yeah,
You have
that's what I was
Derrick
just about to
Henry
say. Yeah.
coming in as offensive player of the year. Like, that offense is different. They do have some bodies on the defense that can still obviously make some plays. So I am going to take the Baltimore Ravens in a close game.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Colby. I am going to take the Ravens because, the one thing that fans, said Lamar to do is he needed to become more of a consistent passer, and he's done that this season. I do think he takes home his third ever MVP, and at only, I think, 28 years old he is right now. So he's, really turning into an elite quarterback, getting right up there with Patrick Mahomes. But I think the biggest thing for this Ravens team, when you look at the big picture, is dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs, which no other team has done. So I think this Ravens team has the potential to, do really great things this year if they are able to dethrone the Chiefs. I mean, they lost by literally a toenail at during week 1 of the season on Thursday Night Football. But yeah, I got to go with the Ravens on the road. I do think they get things done. But yeah, Mike Tomlin's one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and I've hammered that home. I've said that time in and time out. He's taken Duck Hodges to the playoffs, Kenny Pickett to the playoffs. Now it's going to be most likely the combination of Justin Fields and Russell Wilson that he's going to take to the playoffs. So yeah, Mike Tomlin's an incredible coach, and whenever you're playing the Steelers, it's always going to be a tight game no matter what the Steelers' record is, because Mike Tomlin is always going to put together such a strong game plan. So, the Steelers are always going to keep things close, but like I said, I have to go ahead and pick the Ravens. 4-5 Seattle Seahawks travel to San Francisco to take on the 5-4 San Francisco 49ers. I think a lot of us expected Colby, the 49ers, to get off to a bit of a better start than a 5-4 start to the season. Seahawks are coming off a bye week. 49ers coming off a big 23-20 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 49ers currently sit as 3.5-point home favorites. Colby, how do you see this matchup shaping up in Santa Clara?
Yeah, I really, really like the Seahawks this season. I mean, my Patriots faced them week 2, and
Oh yeah,
McDonald, I mean, he's a rookie head coach too. I mean, he's the
came
youngest
from
head
the
coach
Ravens staff.
in the NFL. Exactly. He coming from a great defense. He knows what to do from a defensive standpoint. But once they lost, they started to cool off a little bit, and now they've become very inconsistent. They've had some injuries on that team too. Maybe a little of toxicity behind the locker room there too. I believe it's their center that just randomly retired all of a sudden. So for me, I look at this and I say, have the 49ers been great? No, they've also been inconsistent, but they haven't been a bad team. And I think that's what's different here, is that the 49ers, we're trying to say that, like, oh, they're not as dominant, but that's just based off of our pure expectations, because we're used to this team only losing, 1 or 2, 3 games max a season, but they're still a playoff team. They're still a very good team at the end of the day. And they got Christian McCaffrey back last week. Obviously, they've been very injury prone too. You're out Deebo Samuel, you're out Brandon Ayuk, but now you are game 2 of Christian McCaffrey back. I think you expect him to be a little bit more acclimated now coming here into week 2. And this is a guy that last year, when they didn't have him, they struggled to win games. When they had him, they were consistently winning games. He is the difference maker to that San Francisco 49ers team. And a young quarterback's best friend is the running game, and it is a running back. And when you have somebody like Christian McCaffrey, who's as dominant on the ground as he is through the air, I mean, this is a guy that, you can line him up in the backfield. You can line him up out wide. You can line him up in the slot, and he can be a very good receiver for you. I think it opens up the playbook for them tremendously. It makes them a less predictable offense, and I think it's going to be a close one because these two teams always play each other very, very close, but I'm going to take the 49ers here.
Colby, we do have 4 more matchups left, but I know we are in a bit of a time crunch here. You have some time for the final 4 here?
Oh, yeah, man. Let's do it.
Let's go. Move over to the Falcons versus the Broncos. Falcons 6-4 versus the Broncos 5-5. Falcons coming off, like we spoke about earlier, the 20-17 loss to the Saints. Broncos coming off the 16-14 loss to the Chiefs, where the block field goal. The Broncos were primed to win that game and dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs of that undefeated record, but the Chiefs find yet another way to get it done. So, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Broncos 1.5-point home favorites.
Yeah, man. I mean, shout out to the Broncos because they started off the season rocky, which, they had a lot of new pieces. They had Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback. Like, you didn't expect them to hit the ground running, but they have really, really, really turned things around and have become a very, very good team. Sean Payton doing very good things with that team right now. And like you alluded to, they almost beat an undefeated team. They were a blocked field goal away from beating an undefeated team. So the way that I see this is, yes, they're coming off of a loss. Yes, the Falcons are also coming off of a loss. This is another playoff matchup. I mean, you have the Falcons right now in the playoffs representing the NFC. You have the Broncos right now in the playoffs representing the AFC. So I think it's going to be a fun game, a close game. It could go either way, but Kirk Cousins, not the same quarterback he used to. He doesn't have that mobility. And this defense for the Broncos is aggressive. They're really good. They're able to force turnovers. They have a great secondary. They have great linebackers. They have a great defensive line. And I think Kirk Cousins' inability to be mobile is going to get him. I think that pass rush is going to get to him. And I do have the Broncos winning this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I do think the Broncos come out on top. I wasn't very high on Bo Nix during, that pre-draft process, but he's actually shaped out to be an okay quarterback. He's been serviceable, what you need when you have, a defense that's going to go out and make plays, a supporting cast that's held up, pretty much okay for this Broncos team. So yeah, I do have to agree with you. I go with the Broncos, but the Falcons are a very, very good team from not only a defensive standpoint. You mentioned Kirk Cousins hasn't been, his same self from 5 years ago, but Drake London has made plays for this team. Bijan Robinson has made a huge year to leap. So I think it'll be close, but I do see the Broncos coming out on top. Let's move over to the Chiefs versus the Bills. Now, Colby, I think this has the potential to go down as the best game this season. I mean, this is going to be an absolute fight till the end. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs at 9-0 versus the Bills, who are 8-2. Chiefs coming off that 16-14 win over the Broncos. Bills coming off a 30-20 win over the Colts. Bills currently sit as 2-point home favorites. Colby, what does this game look like?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's always fun when these two teams play. And it feels like any time that Josh Allen is able to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, it does come in the regular season. That Achilles heel against the Chiefs has really come in the postseason when it matters the most. But nonetheless, it is absolute cinema when you get Josh Allen and you get Patrick Mahomes. The thing here, too, is that the Chiefs are undefeated. And maybe this is a hot take, Connor. I don't feel like they're playing particularly great football.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
They're undefeated. But if you look at a lot of their wins, they're very, very close. They're one possession. They come down to the wire, and they just somehow, when it matters most, clutch up and are able to squeak out these wins. Josh Allen, on the other side of things, this Bills team, and Josh Allen specifically, arguably playing the best football of his career, in large part because he's not turning over the football. My biggest question for the Bills is going to be, who's playing in this game? Now, we know Isaiah Pacheco was rumored to return in this game. He's not going to, but Kareem Hunt has still been an absolute dog on the ground. What are those injuries going to look like for the Bills offense? Is Kincaid going to play? We just heard that Dawson Knox isn't going to play in this game. Is Keon Coleman going to play? Is Amari Cooper going to play? Because if you're out all of these star weapons on offense, Josh Allen's playing great football. He's playing superhero football along with James Cook, but you're only going to be able to do so much, especially against this Chiefs defense, which yet again, due to Spags, their defensive coordinator, is one of the best defenses in the entire National Football League. So for me, personally, as much as I want the Bills to win this game, and I do think they have a real fighting chance, I think that they could potentially be plagued by these injuries. And when a team is undefeated and they just every single week find ways to squeak these things out, how can you go against them? Until the Chiefs lose, I can't say that they're going to lose. So I got to pick KC here.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I am going to go with Kansas City as well, and that's what I've been thinking all along, Colby. And you pretty much nailed it there. That's why I think this Chiefs team is so good because Patrick Mahomes, arguably playing the worst football of his career, this Chiefs team not playing
Mhm.
great overall football yet. They come in when it's needed and deliver a win. That's what makes good teams, great teams in the NFL. So the fact that the Chiefs aren't able to do that week in and week out while they're not at their best just goes to show how this team is so greatly coached, paired with the knack for making plays all around on this roster. Just such a special team, this Chiefs team hunting for their 3-peat. But yep, got to go with Kansas City on the road here. They improved to 10-0 on the season. The Bills dropped to 8-3. Cincinnati Bengals versus the LA Chargers. Bengals coming off 41-21 win over the Raiders. Chargers coming off 27-17 win over the Titans. Chargers currently sit as 1.5-point home favorites. Colby, what does this game look like?
Yeah, I think the Chargers are also performing over expectations, and they just
Mm-hmm.
have a really good aura to them. They have a really good atmosphere with Harbaugh in there, and everybody's saying, the Harbaugh effect, and it's really taken over there for the Chargers. But they've also been inconsistent, which is perfectly fine. I mean, they have a lot of good players, but they're also rebuilding. They're in a new phase, so no one was expecting them to be as good as they are. Nobody's expecting them to make the postseason, but right now they are a playoff team. You look at the Bengals, we all expected them to be better. They started off the season slow. Guess what? I said that was going to happen. No surprise there. The Bengals historically always start off slow, especially in week one. Everybody's hating on Joe Burrow for the current state of the Bengals. It makes absolutely no sense. And that is the difference between those who know football and those who don't, because Joe Burrow is playing at an MVP-like level right now. He's playing really, really good football despite those losses. But I think they are stringing together some momentum. They're starting to string together some of these wins here. And the Bengals still believe in themselves, and they are still trying to make the postseason. And it is still a possible chance for them to do so. So I think they're locked in. They know that for them to make the postseason, it very well could come down to this game. So I think all the eggs are in the middle of the basket there for the Bengals in this one. And it could be close, but I am going to tank the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, and I think you made a great point there for this Bengals team that's 4-6 and really fighting for their lives in the postseason. But I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick the Chargers here. They're the hot team. They're at home, 6-3. I think the biggest thing for this team is that they play complementary football on both sides. We've seen it where Justin Herbert and the offense flashes, and then the defense just goes out and implodes, and vice versa, where Justin Herbert simply can't get the job done while the defense goes out and just puts on an absolute masterclass. So I think if this team's able to play complementary football, which I think they will be able to do against the Bengals, I think they should take care of business. And Jim Harbaugh should be able to improve 7-3 for his first season back in the NFL. But we'll keep it moving here. Final matchup: Monday Night Football. 6-4 Houston Texans take on the 3-6 Dallas Cowboys. Texans lost last week by a score of 26-23 to the Lions on Sunday Night Football. Cowboys, a blowout loss to the Eagles. What do you expect on Monday night?
Yeah, two teams who, again, have just not in the slightest lived up to expectations here, especially the Dallas Cowboys. And we actually just found out over the last week that Dak Prescott was going to be placed on injured reserve. He's going to be out for the season. This Texans defense is very good. They have the best pass rush win rate in the entire NFL. That defense is good. They have some inconsistencies with their secondary, but nonetheless, still a good defense. It's that offense that has some questions, but you're hoping Nico Collins can get a little bit more acclimated in this game. You get back your number one wide receiver, CJ Stroud. That Texans offense has been riddled with injuries, which I think is in large part why they've dropped over the last 2 weeks. But again, this Dallas Cowboys team, they're not good. I don't think they're making the postseason. Mike McCarthy is going to be out of a head coaching job in just a short few months. I think that, he's checked out. I think these players are checked out. And I think that I trust this defense, and I trust CJ Stroud a lot more than I trust anybody on that Dallas team. So I'm definitely taking the Houston Texans here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Cowboys couldn't perform with Dak Prescott. Now you're going to throw a backup in there. You don't even know what to expect out of this team. So I am going to have to go with the Houston Texans. I think CJ Stroud is a bit of a bounce back performance. I think this team, is able to run the ball successfully, and they, get Tank Dell and Nico Collins involved in the passing game. But that'll do it for us. Everyone smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Colby, appreciate you joining me. The final question I asked to everyone I interview is 4 dinner guests. Anyone in the world, dead or alive, who are you taking to dinner?
Oh, 4 dinner guests. Oh, this is a great question. Well, easily, number 1, man, I think you got to go Tom Brady. Tom Brady, straight up,
Wow.
man. I
Yeah.
mean, the freaking GOAT.
Yeah,
How can
can't
you
disagree
not?
with it.
How can you not? Number 2, I'm going to go with Chris Brown. I'm going to go with Chris Brown. And that's
Hmm.
a little controversial, but I think Chris Brown is one of the best artists since Michael Jackson from a dancing perspective, from his performance perspective. And I think that there is definitely a lot of value in that. My next one, I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to go back here from a New England Patriots perspective, and I'm going to go with Julian Edelman. Why?
Wow.
Because this dude has just a dog mentality. He started from the bottom and rose up, and I think that there's a lot
Undrafted
of
free agent.
value. So much value, exactly. There's so much value to take away there from him, and kind of that mentality, and how can you build when you are an underdog. And I think that there's a lot that you can take away from that. And having him and Tom Brady at the same damn dinner table with that mindset, I just think that there is so much that you could possibly take away from it. And 4, ooh, this is a good one. 4, I would have to probably go with, you know what? We're talking about a lot of Patriots. Let's make the dinner table interesting. Let's go with Bill Belichick. Let's go
Wow.
with Bill Belichick, man. You don't understand, like, as a Patriots fan and as somebody who, like, covers the Patriots for a living, I have so many questions. And as somebody who reports for the
Yeah.
team too, you know how many answers you could get? Why was Malcolm Butler benched in Super Bowl 52? How did this upbringing happen? What was the real reason that Tom Brady left New England? What's the status between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? So many questions that you could ask at that dinner table that could officially be answered. Even going back to Julian Edelman, I mean, back in Super Bowl 53, he was the MVP. What did that mean to him? And I think that there's just so much possibilities to take away from a learning perspective, not just as a person, but a lot of content opportunities to take away too.
Yeah, also, and you get all 4 of those guys unfiltered. I mean, that's just going to be a legendary conversation. But everyone, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. Colby, like I said, appreciate you joining me. You got any final thoughts?
Nah, man, look, I appreciate you for having me on. As always, Roundtable Sports Network, man, it's growing. We got a lot of things in the works, and Connor's definitely a big part of this. So we appreciate you guys for riding with us, as always. A lot of really, really, really great content coming for you guys, not just here on the Roundtable Sports Network main YouTube channel, but on all of the divisionals. I mean, we're talking AFC East, AFC West, NFC East, NFC West. I mean, we have every single division covered, so make sure you guys check that out. Lots of new shows coming to this YouTube channel too, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Hit that bell notification so you get notified when we post and go live, and leave a big like because that helps support us too.
Well, Colby, I do really appreciate it. Yeah, wake up and ball with TD and Richie every single morning, Monday through Friday now, 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. I'll be here now every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can catch us here. You catch TD and Richie every weekday in the mornings, and you can catch me here every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But alongside Colby Cochran, I am your host, Connor Long, and we will see you next time right here from the Round Table Sports YouTube channel. Take care.